In this video we are going to take a closer look at the mixed unit interactions of a Proteus Kill Team of the Deathwatch, which can be particularly confusing for beginners. Over the course of the video, we will first cover a few basic rules and then go into the Proteus Kill Team specifics. In the final part, we will also go through a popular Proteus Kill Team composition introduced by Michael Costello before concluding the video with a quick wrap-up.
Welcome to SwissHammer, your channel for modeling in Warhammer 40k. My name is Tammer, and I will be guiding you through this video.
Before diving right into unlocking the full potential of a Proteus Kill Team, there are two basic topics I want to quickly rehash, as they are important for what is about to follow. The first is unit coherency. This has changed over the course of the editions, and the 9th edition in particular is far more restrictive compared to what older players might remember. In a nutshell, for a unit that has more than one model, but less than 6, each model must be within 2 inches horizontally and 5 inches vertically of at least one other model of that unit. For a unit that has 6 or more models, all models must be within the 2 inches horizontally and 5 inches vertically of at least 2 other models. If a unit cannot end the move in that kind of coherency, the move cannot be made. The additional restrictions for 6+ models have basically been implemented to put a stop to people building long lanes across the whole table with units containing a lot of models. The second important part is that the moral phase has a unit coherency check. Any models that are no longer in unit coherency must be removed until that unit is back in coherency. This is very important when deciding about removing casualties, to which we will get in just a moment. So, with the basics covered, how is this relevant for the kill teams of the Deathwatch? First of all, as we have just seen, building daisy chains, aka spreading out the models, is still possible for as long as the unit has 5 or less models, which makes this ideal for combat squads. In the Deathwatch, we can include biker models into the kill teams, which have enormous spaces for basically being troops. Chaining 5 Outriders would be the most extreme example, but even 5 veteran bikers, or veteran bikers paired with Terminator bases, leave a respectable footprint. This can be used to snag objectives, remain within aura range, or still get the benefits of cover. But this also brings us to the second important topic, which is attack allocation, which in this particular case ties into the unit coherency check we just discussed. As a quick reminder, attack allocation got changed in 9th edition. This is described on page 220 of the core rulebook, where it says that if an attack successfully wounds a target unit, you can then pick which model is affected. However, whichever model you pick must be picked again for the rest of that phase. Furthermore, if a model is wounded, that model must be taken. This is particularly relevant for Deathwatch because of the mixed units in the kill teams. Back in 8th edition, you could for instance choose to tank a high AP shot with a Stormshield guy, but then take the regular save of another model for less threatening attacks. This is no longer possible. If you pick the Stormshield guy, you have to keep doing so for the rest of the phase. Now here is where the mentioned unit coherency check comes into play. As an extreme example, let's say you have a combat squad of 4 veteran bikers and 1 Thunderhammer Stormshield Terminator, and you have spread them out in a long chain with the Terminator in the middle. The unit now comes under attack, and you decide to tank the shots on the Stormshield of the Terminator. Unfortunately, the shots go through and you are now required to remove the Terminator, which breaks the chain, and even if your remaining bikers would have survived further attacks, you now must pull 2 additional models to get the unit back into coherency. Extreme example, but even if a 10-man kill team has a couple of Stormshield guys mixed in to tank shots, be mindful where you place them, as models within this kind of kill team have to be within 2 inches of 2 other models. But getting back to the combat squad with the bikers, there are further advantages to be had here. First of all, by including at least 3 bikers, the combat squad will end up at Toughness 5, because the toughness value of a mixed unit is decided by the majority of models, or by you in case there is no majority. A commonly seen tactic is the 3 to 4 bikers and 2 to 1 VanVet combo, resulting in the bikes keeping the infantry keyword, the whole combat squad having toughness 5, as well as access to Stormshields on the VanVets. They share a similar movement range, therefore staying in unit coherency is usually not much of a problem. But what about mixing veteran bikers with slower infantry models, for instance, in the previously mentioned case of including Terminators? First of all, why would you? Well, because T5 Terminators with Stormshields in cover are cool, but with their 5-inch movement compared to the 14 inches of the bikers, they are also slow. Does that mean the biker's movement is completely lost? Not entirely so. When setting up the combat squad, you can put the Terminators in front and the veteran bikers behind. During their initial movement, the bikers will then use their additional movement to go around the Terminators and ending up in front. Any further moves can then for instance be used to build a chain with the bikers at the front and the Terminators in the back, and or to get the unit within an easier charge distance. Also keep in mind that you can flip around the biker bases to face in any direction, giving you some additional movement options. Last but not least, sometimes faster units like a single biker or VanVet are included in a kill team for access to stratagems rather than their movement, but even then, being able to position them further ahead of the rest can help to bring the unit within easier charge distance. One extreme case of a mixed units Proteus Kill Team that has gained quite some popularity as of late is the one introduced by Michael Costello, which I simply call Costello-style Proteus Kill Team at this point. Several of you guys have requested some additional coverage on this, so here we go. First of all, I think that some context regarding Michael Costello's playstyle is important here. From what I've seen, he plays rather aggressively, with a focus on close combat murder brick kill teams like this one. While I think that the current missions favor this kind of playstyle, it also requires a good mastery of the game overall, as well as our army of Renown, in order to make this work. While the exact loadouts can change a bit over the course of his iterations, so far there have been the following models at its core. A black shield with a thunderhammer and a chainsword, 2 thunderhammer and stormshield terminators, the mandatory 4 wets with a mix of Deathwatch bolt guns, stormshields and chainsword, the sergeant with a heavy thunderhammer, a single vanguard veteran with a chainsword and stormshield, as well as a single veteran biker with a chainsword. They are played as one big unit of 10. First, a quick word on loadouts. The main theme here is hammers, backed up by chainswords and a few bolters. One thing to consider when mixing different datasheets are the weapon profiles. Type, range, targets, making the actual rolls, you want them to be as aligned as possible. In case of Michael Costello's setup, even though he's mixing a lot of different datasheets, this kill team wants to be in close combat and he's rolling primarily hammers and chainswords. Take another extreme example, our unique kill team Cassius. This is just a mess of so many different weapons. Good luck making the proper rolls for that within a reasonable amount of time. With that out of the way, what does each of those datasheets bring to the unit? Starting with the black shield, I've made an entire video of this guy and why he's so amazing, link is in the description, but for the purposes of this video, let's just say that he has basically a close combat attack profile of a Space Marine captain when equipped with 2 close combat weapons, aka weapon skill 2+ and 4 base attacks. This allows him to hit with a thunderhammer on a 3+, and he also unlocks an extra stratagem, which allows the whole kill team to heroically intervene. Now, the way Michael Costello runs this kill team is that he has the regular Thunder Hammer on the black shield to unlock the extra attack from equipping a second close combat weapon, and then puts the heavy Thunder Hammer on the Sergeant, which has an extra attack over a regular veteran. This way, he is basically maximizing the total amount of attacks on the kill team, most likely due to the combination with Specialism Extremis, though I think it's also worth mentioning that you could also put the heavy Thunder Hammer on the black shield, allowing him to hit with it on a 3+, but it's going to be one less attack on the entirety of the kill team. We then have the two Terminators, more hammers as well as Stormshields, very durable, and for comparison, you are paying 7 points for an additional wound and better armor save when compared to a VanVet equipped with the same loadout. Speaking of which, why the single VanVet? There are several things to consider here. First and perhaps most obvious, the VanVet unlocks access to two stratagems. One is the fall back and shoot unique to the Deathwatch, though that one is not that relevant on this particular kill team. However, far more interesting is the Melt the Bomb stratagem, which by the way does not have to be thrown by the VanVet himself. Having one unlocks the keyword for the whole unit, meaning any model can use it. You can think of one of the other guys snagging the Melt the Bomb from the belt of the VanVet, or something like that. Which brings us to the mandatory Deathwatch veterans, all equipped with Deathwatch bolt guns. 3 also have a Storm Shield, while the 4th has a chainsaw. The Storm Shield guys are basically the ablative wounds of the kill team, giving the whole unit an easy access to good armor and invul saves for as long as these guys are alive. But as we have previously seen regarding unit coherency checks, be mindful where you place these guys, as these will most likely be the first ones you remove. I think the exact number of Storm Shields can also depend a bit on what kind of events you play at and how the terrain looks like, but as a rule of thumb, I think having these 3 plus the ones on the Terminators is a pretty well-rounded setup. One of these guys can also throw the previously mentioned Melt the Bomb, as they are the weakest models in close combat, without access to any dedicated close combat weapons. Then last but not least, we have the Veteran Biker, which again enables access to a unique stratagem of the Deathwatch, the fallback and charge. While the biker will in fact count as toughness 4 for likely the whole duration, I think the size of his base as well as additional movement is very handy in such a kill team that wants to get a charge off as soon as possible. Speaking of movement, as I mentioned earlier, when setting up this kill team, you want the slow Terminators to be at the front, with the bikers and the VanVet at the back. During the first move, these two can then zip around the kill team and get in front, and in future turns, then hopefully get some extra movement out of the kill team to line them up for a charge more easily. All in all, this is a very potent kill team making excellent use of mixed units, and even if you are not playing a list as aggressively as the one piloted by Michael Costello, I think having at least one such unit is a great addition to pretty much any list. That's about what I could think of in terms of interactions within the Proteus Kill Team. If you guys have any further examples that you want to share, feel free to drop a comment. To wrap things up, over the course of the video, we have taken a closer look at the mixed unit interactions of a Proteus Kill Team and how to make best use of it in a Deathwatch army. Starting with a quick refresher on unit coherency, it is important to remember that units with 6 or more models have harder restrictions in 9th edition, though we can still chain by abusing a combat squad containing a bunch of bikers with their large bases and or infantry models. Another important thing to remember is attack allocation. If you are planning to tank shots with some specific wargear, for instance a storm shield, keep in mind that you will have to remove one such specific model, careful about placement and not breaking unit coherency upon death. Furthermore, we have also looked at movement with a unit containing fast bikers and slow terminators, with the latter able to benefit from toughness 5, as well as having the faster bikes overtake them as the unit moves, while still being able to maintain unit coherency. Then lastly, the Costello-style Proteus Kill Team is an excellent demonstration of how to make best use of mixed units. several datasheets united with one purpose: smashing faces in close combat with hammers and more, having access to a variety of extra stratagems, as well as surprisingly good movement, even with the 2 slower Terminators. Certainly worth considering in any kind of Army of Renown list. And for further list inspiration, feel free to also check my latest Deathwatch tournament coverage, as well as my take on the balanced data slate and FAQ releases. So that's it for a practical approach to mixed units in the Proteus Kill Team. Have you guys been using any of these tactics before, or even put the Costello-style kill team into good use yet? Have I missed anything important, or gotten any of the rules wrong? Let me know in the comments. Finally, I would also like to mention that there is a SwissHammer Facebook page where I will be posting links to my videos as well as articles I find of interest. I do read a lot about the hobby, but not all of it will always end up as its own video. I look forward to seeing you there as well. I do also have a Patreon page. If you like my content, any additional support is greatly appreciated as it helps me invest into future videos. As always, thank you very much for watching, guys. Your continued support is greatly appreciated. I hope you have been enjoying this video. Give me a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks again and see you next time.